A surgeon places a small piece of metal inside a patient's jawbone. The incision closes. The weeks pass, and something unusual happens. The bone does not reject the metal. It does not grow scar tissue around it. It does not try to push it out. Instead, slowly, the bone cells begin to grow directly against it, locking it in place as if it had always belonged there. This is not how the body normally behaves. The body is suspicious of foreign objects. It attacks them. It walls them off. Titanium is one of the very few materials that the body simply does not treat as a threat. The reason has to do with something that happens on the surface of titanium in the first few seconds after it meets the body. Something invisible to the naked eye. Something that changes everything. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. A metal the body accepts. At its core, titanium's role in medicine is not about strength, it is about silence. Most metals placed inside the human body begin a slow conversation with the biological environment around them. Stainless steel releases small amounts of ions as body fluids gradually corrode its surface. Cobalt-chrome alloys can leach particles into surrounding tissue, triggering immune responses that eventually cause the implant to fail. The body notices these metals. It reacts. And that reaction is the problem. Titanium does not do this. When titanium meets the body's environment, its surface goes quiet within nanoseconds. And because it goes quiet, the body leaves it alone. That is the quality that surgeons and engineers have built the modern implant industry around. The accident that changed surgery. It did not start with a deliberate search for the perfect implant material. In 1952, a Swedish researcher named Per-Ingvar Brånemark was studying how blood flows through healing bone. To observe the process from inside the bone itself, he designed a small optical chamber and had it machined from titanium, chosen because titanium was lightweight and known to resist corrosion well. The device was screwed into the leg bones of rabbits. Months passed. The study concluded. Then Brånemark tried to remove the chambers. They would not come out. The bone had grown into the threads of the titanium, fusing with the metal so completely that the device could not be separated from the living tissue around it. What looked like a failed experiment was something else entirely. The bone had not rejected the titanium, it had adopted it. Brånemark named the process osseointegration, from the Latin roots for bone and for making whole. He understood immediately what the discovery might mean. If bone could grow directly against titanium without triggering rejection, then titanium could become an anchor for artificial limbs, teeth, and joints that no adhesive or mechanical fastening could match. A prosthetic held in place not by glue or hardware, but by the patient's own bone. His colleagues were largely dismissive. The scientific consensus at the time held firmly that the human body was hostile to all foreign materials, that any metal placed inside living tissue would eventually be encapsulated, degraded, or expelled. Brånemark's grant applications were repeatedly rejected. His findings were considered implausible by the mainstream of the medical community. The idea that bone would actively grow toward a piece of metal rather than away from it ran against everything that medical science thought it understood about how the body responded to foreign objects. He continued anyway. He moved from rabbits to dogs, then to human volunteers, placing titanium implants and monitoring the results over years. In every case, the bone kept growing. The body kept accepting the metal. The rejection that everyone predicted simply did not arrive. By 1965, Brånemark placed the first titanium dental implant in a human patient. That patient used the implant for over 40 years. What began as an irritating obstacle in a routine blood flow study had become one of the most consequential accidental discoveries in the history of surgery. The medical world eventually caught up. By the 1980s, osseointegration had been accepted as a genuine and reproducible phenomenon. The age of the titanium implant had begun. What happens on the surface? So why does the body accept titanium when it rejects so many other things? Think of it less like a metal sitting inside the body and more like a metal that disguises itself the moment it arrives. The moment titanium is exposed to any moisture, including the fluids inside the human body, a chemical reaction occurs on its surface in a matter of nanoseconds. A thin layer of titanium dioxide forms and seals the metal completely. This layer is only a few nanometers thick. You could not see it, feel it, or detect it without a microscope, but it changes everything about how the body reads the surface of the implant. Titanium dioxide is chemically stable and biologically inert. It does not react with body fluids. It does not release ions into surrounding tissue. It does not corrode, pit, or degrade over time under normal conditions. The immune system, which is constantly scanning for chemical signals that indicate foreign or threatening material, finds almost nothing to respond to. The titanium is there, but to the body's defense systems, it barely registers. And then something more remarkable happens. The surface of the implant, particularly when textured through surface treatments like sandblasting or acid etching, gives bone cells something to hold on to. Osteoblasts, the cells responsible for forming new bone, migrate toward the surface and begin to attach. They multiply, they differentiate. Over weeks and months, new bone forms directly against the implant, interlocking with its surface at a microscopic level. The titanium oxide surface actively stimulates this process rather than merely tolerating it. The implant does not merely sit in the bone. It becomes part of the bone's architecture, that is, osseointegration. And titanium is, so far, the most reliable material known to trigger it consistently in both dental and orthopedic settings. The strength and low weight that make titanium attractive in aerospace and engineering turn out to be secondary reasons for its presence in surgery. The primary reason is what happens in the invisible chemistry of those first few nanoseconds. Not all metals work the same way. The assumption most people carry about surgical implants is that any strong, clean metal placed carefully inside the body will eventually be accepted. That assumption is not supported by the history of implant surgery. Before titanium became the dominant implant material, surgeons worked with stainless steel and cobalt chrome alloys. Both are strong, both resist corrosion far better than ordinary iron, but neither performs inside the body the way titanium does. In one comparative study of fracture repair, the non-union rate for titanium plates was 7%. For stainless steel plates, it was 23%. The difference was not in how the surgery was performed, it was in how the bone responded to the material. The problem with other metals is that under the sustained chemical pressure of the body environment, the oxide layers that protect them are not as stable as titanium's. They can be worn away by the microscopic movements that occur around any implant. When those layers degrade, the metal beneath begins to interact with surrounding tissue. Ions and particles are released, inflammation follows, and inflammation, chronic and unresolved, is what drives implant failure. Titanium's oxide layer, by contrast, is self-repairing. If it is scratched or disrupted, the surface reacts with available oxygen and reforms within nanoseconds. The protection regenerates itself. That self-repair mechanism, combined with the body's near-complete failure to recognize titanium as foreign, is what has made it the material of choice for implants where long-term performance matters. Now the body builds around it. Today, you will find titanium inside more human bodies than perhaps any other engineered material in the history of medicine. Hip and knee replacements, spinal fusion rods, dental implants, bone screws, cranial plates. In all of these applications, the goal is the same: a material that the body will integrate rather than fight, that will remain stable over decades rather than years, and that will not compromise the tissue around it. More than 2 million titanium dental implants are placed globally every year. Hip and knee replacement surgeries using titanium components restore mobility to millions of patients annually. Long-term success rates for titanium implants regularly exceed 95% over 10 to 15-year follow-up periods, a figure no previous generation of implant materials came close to achieving. Surface engineering has extended what titanium can do. Implant manufacturers now design surface textures at the microscopic level, controlling precisely how rough or porous a surface is to optimize the conditions for osseointegration. Some surfaces are coated with calcium phosphate compounds that mimic the mineral structure of bone, further encouraging new bone growth. The implant surface has become as carefully designed as the implant itself. The metal that a Swedish researcher accidentally fused to a rabbit's leg in 1952 is now part of the bodies of hundreds of millions of people worldwide. The body's unlikely partner. So why is titanium used inside the human body? Not because it is the strongest metal available, not because it is the lightest. It is used because of what happens in the first nanoseconds after it enters the body's environment. A surface forms that the immune system cannot read as a threat. Bone cells arrive and begin to grow. Over months, the line between the implant and the living tissue becomes difficult to find. Titanium does not fight the body. It does not demand to be tolerated. It simply becomes part of the repair, so quietly that the biology around it carries on as if nothing foreign was ever placed there. It is not valuable in medicine simply because it is strong. It is valuable because it can quietly become part of the body's repair system without constantly fighting against it. If this changed the way you think about what is quietly at work inside the people around you, let us know in the comments what everyday material or object you want us to look at next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.